Hello everybody, today we are going to talk about static properties and static methods. So about static variables and static functions, right? And what that word static, that modifier will do when we use it before the property or the method. Well, the method or the property will be shared between all the instances of classes. So it means that all the objects will have the same value, okay? The same value, for example, on property. And if it means about method, it means that this is the method that can be used by all the instances of classes, and even we don't need to have a class. Well, it will be shown soon, so don't worry, that are just words. Soon it will be explained very clearly. Okay, let's imagine a problem. Here we have already two files, the user.h and user.cpp created, and let's imagine a problem like that. I want to create a user, right? And I want to identify that user somehow from another user. How can I identify somebody from another guy? How can I distinguish them from each other, right? How is it possible? Well, in order to do it, we need something, some property that could distinguish them, right? So, for example, what? Name? Well, names are not a good idea because there are many people with the same names. But surname? Well, here people don't have the same surname all the time, but it can be repeated. Well, so maybe let's add the name and surname. Well, that would be rare thing when both people have the same name and surname, but still it can happen that they will have the same name and surname. So we can just create something like, for example, a new variable that would be, for example, integer, and it would be called ID, and this thing would be always different for other people because every person would have different number associated to the guy. So the best thing is to just create something what is called ID, so it will be the key to somebody, right? For example, the user number 1, the user number 2, the user number 3, and that thing cannot be repeated in another user again, right? So that's how we'll do it, and let's create a class that we'll call the user. And now here in the public section we'll create first the constructor and the destructor, and now here I will create the definition of constructor, and I will create a definition of destructor. Okay, now here when I create the user A and then user B, and I create something like the int ID here, I would like to tell you also that this guy here, right, is really in private section. This private section here is added here automatically, so we don't need to add that private here. So it means that I can't do something like that right now. It won't work because this thing is private, right? And it won't work. And of course here, please remember about it that we should add the semicolon here always after the class definition. Now here we are being said that error that int user ID is private, so we can't get that value here. And yes, the ID should be, for example, like here, and we'll get because we don't want anyone to change this thing by mistake, right? We don't want that somebody change the ID of user from 5 to 2 because there will be by mistake 2 people with IDs of that are equal to 2, right? So we should just create a function that will return the ID, right? We can make this function inline, just return the ID. and we can assign something to that ID, for example here, for example like that. And now here we can easily send it to the output like that. And as you can see, everything works fine. But hey, I want to have a different ID for each user, right? But this variable is different for each user now. So it can't be like one for all of them. We could create a global variable, but hey, that thing would be bad idea, because everyone who would like to use our class would need to use the global variable, who will need to know how our class is working. And remember that when we write classes, we want classes to be used by other people easily, not only by us. So we should now create something like static property that will be the same for each guy. So we'll create a static int and call it counter. So this guy will be counting, and this variable will be now shared between all the instances of classes. So that guy here and that guy here will have the same value here. First, we have to initialize our counter. In order to do it, we'll do it that way. Int, then the name of our class, so user, then we go to the counter and then assign here 0. So this is the initialization of our static variable. Okay. Then each time the constructor is run, we'll just increase the counter, right? And then we'll just assign to ID the counter, because each ID must be different, but counter should be shared. Okay. And now let's see how does it work. As you can see, now the get ID function is returning us 1 then 2. If we created something like, for example, that, and then I will do something like, for example, that, you'll notice that it's done automatically. We have the ID 10 here, and it's right because remember that the arrays are counted from 0, right? So so this is the 10th element, and we got the ID 10 here. So now whatever number we put here, we will automatically assign right IDs to each user, and they all will be different. But the counter is shared, and remember, because that thing is shared, we can get that value always. It means that we even don't need to have the user created. We can do something like that. User, the name of our class, then 2 colons, and then we can go to the counter. But right now that thing won't work, because this thing is what? It is private, right? There is a modifier automatically added that is private. Here, when we do it that way, everything will work fine. As you can see, the counter is 0 right now because we didn't create any user. When you do something like that, you will notice that the counter is 50, right? Cool. But there's a problem. When we did it that way, now the counter can be easily changed. It can be changed to, for example, 60 here by somebody by mistake, or maybe not mistake. And something might go wrong, right? So, well, that's a bad idea to have the counter here. It's better when it's here. So we should create a function int that will return the counter, right? Int get the counter, and then return the counter, right? And now we can do it, but we can do it only that way, when we have the instance of our class. So int a and then get counter. That way we can do it, right? But hey, we need an instance of the class to use that. That's a bad idea, because static things should be able to be accessed without having the instance of our class. So we should create something what is called the static method that will allow us doing something like that. The user and then get the counter. Now we can get counter always, right? As you can see 50, and we don't need also the instance of our classes. Everything works fine. So by adding static, we are making the variable or method to be shared between all instances of classes, and also this thing is even created before the instance of our class, right? So it is always somewhere created. Okay, that's all in that lesson. Thank you very much.